What I want to talk about today is the fact that many people think we're on the way to recovery or we have seen the worst of SHTF. That can be nothing further from the truth. What I want you to keep in mind is we're just at the beginning of this. We have not ridden the roller coaster down to the bottom yet. Things are still in flux. All of the shortages, the job losses, the increased taxation, all the regulations and the impediments that governments around the world are putting in place are only going to make this situation worse. Even the liberal elite, which have created much of this, are now signaling that we're still on the way down. What I want to do is remind you our situation now is the same or worse than the Great Depression was. And when the Great Depression started in 1929, it wasn't until 1933, 1934 that the United States economy actually hit bottom. So you can see from the damage that's been done now, you can figure that we're 7, 8, maybe 10 years from the bottom of this. And what will happen is this will impact people differently. So some people will walk through this with no problem, others will not make it, and some of us will fall in between. People my age and older, we may not actually see the end of this. So several of my viewers have asked me, how would you address the issues of survival in a long-term situation and deal with confiscation and shortage of supplies? I've talked extensively about the parallel economy and establishing production. The other thing is you have to have somewhere to go if things are not viable in your area. And when you look at history and you look at the Great Depression and you go back into the pioneer days, many of the trappers, hunters, and adventurers and explorers had a circuit of hunter cabins. These hunter cabins were one room, maybe two rooms, but the bulk of them were somewhere around 10 foot by 16 foot, and they were one room. These were built from available materials in the area of operations. So they could be log, they could be sawed lumber, they can be stone, they could be dug out. Whatever materials you have, these can be built with. One of the advantages of having a larger plot of land is you can have a secondary residence consisting of one of these one-room cabins. That way, if you have a fire, you have a place to immediately relocate. If people are looking for you, you can relocate to the cabin, and most likely they would actually attack your main residence rather than the cabin you're in. The other thing is, in the pioneer days, trappers would have a circuit. And if you think about it, in the United States, you have areas that are cold and areas that are hot. If your group has a system of 3 or 4 or 5 trapper cabins in different locations, you can travel that circuit. This makes it hard for you to be found because nobody knows which of the 5 locations you'll be at. This also allows you to cache and stockpile supplies in areas where they won't be found. Some of these cabins can be in areas that are not road accessible. So when you're thinking about this, if you have a warm area with a very good climate and limited land, you could grow a lot of food. If you're in a cold area, you could have a relocation cabin for part of the year where you could actually grow substantial food. That way you avoid the cold winter, the heating needs, and you can grow food for an extended period of time. These are some of the things to think about because we're in a long-term situation here. So your planning and thinking needs to be long-term. Please comment, and we'll see you on the next episode.